There's a new QB2 in Kansas City as well. The Chiefs brought back a couple of familiar faces this week. And of course, we're going to have a Rashee Rice update. As you hear, we got a lot to discuss. So with that, let's cut the chit chat and let's have some fun. We are ever so closely to getting to that NFL draft. We are literally a few weeks away. And as you see, with Brett Veach having money to spend, he is starting to put the roster together for the Kansas City Chiefs for the 2024 NFL season. I know free agent period for the Chiefs is not that exciting. They never really go for that big name player. But you know, once that draft season comes, this is when the team executes and puts the right pieces in place to try to make that three-peat and be the first team to ever do that. So with that, let's get into some of the news that transpired this week, and let's start with the Rashee Rice update, which it just seems like it keeps getting worse and worse, and it's unfortunate. As you guys know, I wasn't one to speak on something when I don't have the facts. And technically, I still don't have all the facts, and we won't for a long time because now this is a legal case and it takes a while for these things to, quote, transpire and to get a result, whether it be by the law or the NFL. And in the NFL's perspective, it would be suspension-wise. But what we learned this week is Rashee Rice was the driver of the Lamborghini. So we can stop with all the quote-unquote, hey, was he not, was he there, was he the passenger? He was the driver. He came out and admitted that. As well, in the car, they did find weed in the car, which is very unfortunate. But initial reports that were coming out were saying that it's a felony, but reporters don't know their job that well because grams and ounces are two completely different things, so it's not a felony. He was well under the legal carry law in Texas, but at the end of the day, it doesn't look good. You shouldn't have weed on you, and that's from the NFL perspective, because we've seen the NFL, Roger Goodell, hand out lofty suspensions just on having weed. So you have a hit and run accident, you have weed. There's also reports he could have had guns on him as well. It's just all crazy. I don't know how all of this is going to come out, but right now, it's not looking good. And it seems like every time more and more comes out, it gets worse. So hopefully this is the end. It all works itself out. But even though it doesn't look good, I don't see something where the Chiefs release him. I think that's far gone. The Chiefs have done this. They've released Kareem Hunt too early and then he went with a different team. They've held on to Tyreek Hill. They're just going to let this play out. Will Rashee Rice be suspended next year? Yes, he definitely will. We just don't know how long it will be. It can range from 4 to 10 games in my aspect. So let's just see what unfolds. But hopefully it's not like a Willie Gay situation where we're already halfway in the year and then he gets suspended. I would just like for Rashee Rice to be suspended from the get-go. But again, we don't know how that all shakes out. So we're going to keep our eyes peeled and we'll see how everything goes. Now, I had to push the bad stuff, the sour stuff to the side and start off with it. Let's get to some of the good stuff because the Kansas City Chiefs were busy this week and they started with finding their new backup quarterback, QB2, and it is Carson Wentz. And if you guys focused on the video where I said 5 players the Kansas City Chiefs will sign, he was one of them on there. And a lot of y'all weren't happy with that because you didn't like the fit. But if you rewind to last year, Coach Reid brought him in, and they feel he's a system fit. And if Coach Reid likes him, he will find a way to be on the team. And Carson Wentz, honestly, with the stats he has put up, with the play he has had, he is probably the best backup quarterback the Kansas City Chiefs have ever had in the Patrick Mahomes era. So I think that's a huge positive. At the end of the day, you just want someone who will be there that if it comes, which hopefully it doesn't, knock on wood, that he does not have to play, he's a reliable guy. And Carson Wentz, we don't know that. He is one of those guys where he can throw for 400 yards and 3 or 4 touchdowns. And then there's games he can throw for 3 interceptions. He is that risky. But if you need him just for a game, I think you can rely on him. I think he is definitely an upgrade over Blaine Gabbert. And at the end of the day, I just want him holding that clipboard. If that's all he's doing, it's a win-win signing for me. So I think that's a positive. And then also another guy I mentioned in that video, and if you haven't checked it out, obviously it looks like I know what I'm talking about because I am on a roll here. But they brought in J.K. Dobbins for a tryout, which I think that would have been a magnificent fit. We'll see what happens there. I think at the end of the day, they were trying to get a contract deal done. I don't think maybe J.K. Dobbins liked the money because the Kansas City Chiefs that same day re-signed Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And this was not something I expected whatsoever. It was a surprise. Now, it's a one-year deal. We still haven't got the money language out of it, but I'm happy to have Clyde back. I think Clyde last year proved, hey, I can be a dependable RB2 or RB3 and be productive in this system still. I think last year was quote unquote his best year since his rookie year. It's not saying a lot, but I really loved what I've seen out of Clyde. And if it's someone you can involve in the passing game, which is what all Chiefs Kingdom hoped for, is get Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the passing game and let him do work, he can be a really good, dependable RB2 or RB3. What I see moving forward from Clyde Edwards-Helaire is that Jerick McKinnon role, because I'm still not sold that the Kansas City Chiefs will bring back Jerick McKinnon. I know he's a fan favorite, but he had a down year. Whether it be injuries or not, he's an aging back. He is injury prone, and it's off a down year. I think the Kansas City Chiefs will look a different direction, and maybe that direction is J.K. Dobbins. Now, two completely different backs. And I really believe the Kansas City Chiefs can still bring in J.K. Dobbins even with the signing of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, because J.K. Dobbins would be that RB2. He would be that pound for pound, punch to punch with Isaiah Pacheco. And then when you need a guy in the receiving game, you got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And I think that's a solid trio. But that won't happen until after the draft. I think now the Chiefs want to see, can we bring in a guy that can be an RB2 in the draft? Or can we run with a guy like LaMichael Pirine or Deneric Prince? Are they ready to elevate their game to the next level? There's so many questions in the RB room that a lot of people aren't focused on, but the Chiefs have holes they need to fill. And I think we'll see it all round and come to shape right after the draft. You remember how I mentioned in my video where I said the 5 free agents the Kansas City Chiefs should bring in? And so far I'm 2 for 2 because J.K. Dobbins, they brought him in. They'll still work something out. It's not signed, sealed, and delivered. And then you got Carson Wentz. Well, let's just say I'm 3 for 3 at this point, because in that video, I also mentioned, and I kind of took the cheat route, cheated it because I did a 2 for 1 special, but I mentioned Emmanuel Ogbah and Mike Danna. And the Kansas City Chiefs have signed Mike Danna into a 3-year deal worth up to $24 million, $8 million a year. Now, I'm excited for this move. I really am. This is something I hoped for, but I didn't really know the Kansas City Chiefs would do. And I didn't know they would do it long term either. I thought if they were bringing Mike Danna back, it would be on a 1-year deal. The fact that you got him locked down for the long haul is so great. And he's coming off of his best year. And he is still a rotational pass rusher. Don't get that confused. But with the Kansas City Chiefs having quote unquote kind of questions, not knowing if Charles Omenihu will be ready for the start of the season. And then you still got Felix Anudike-Uzomah where he's trying to evolve, trying to be an NFL pass rusher. You brought in a guy now who has done it, who has had his best year, 6.5 sacks. He is ready to be that next guy, and I'm excited to see what he can do. And now you have him locked down. You can never have way too many pass rushers. So that's a great thing to see. It's a really great signing, and it's someone who is a fan favorite in Chiefs Kingdom, but in the locker room as well. Again, this was something I did not expect, especially at those numbers. We know the Kansas City Chiefs don't typically drop the bag on players, and they did for Mike Danna, and it is well-deserved, and I'm excited to see him as a Chief going into the future. Now with that, Chiefs Kingdom, that wraps up all the news this week. Now, please be sure to subscribe to the channel because as I mentioned, the draft is right around the corner. So what does that mean? Tomorrow, mock draft Mondays are gonna be live. I will have a video giving you my mock draft for the Kansas City Chiefs. 3 rounds, 3 picks, of course, unless I make some trades, which we never know. It could happen. We know it's a fun time to speculate and see who the Kansas City Chiefs might be interested in. Oh yeah, and also, I have released a Patreon on this channel. We got a few members coming in, as you probably did see in this video. I really greatly appreciate it. Once we start getting it racked up, I'm thinking, and it may take some time, but let's get to that 8 to 10 range. Then we can start having live chats with just the Patreon members. And also, to show my appreciation, I will be doing a giveaway this month. I will be doing a giveaway on some Kansas City Chiefs draft merchandise. That giveaway will probably go live next week. If you're a Patreon member for $1.99 a month, you will get an extra entry in the giveaway. And if you aren't a Patreon member, I'll have a post. You can enter that way as well. But if you enter the post and you're a Patreon member, you already got a head start on everyone else. So it sounds like a great deal. I do appreciate everyone who jumps into the channel, whether you're subscribed, whether you're a Patreon member, or even the littlest support is at all. Hit that big thumbs up button. With that, Chiefs Kingdom, I'm checking out. Y'all take care. Peace.